Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out some very spicy battles in the Great League featuring XL Herdier. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, so many thanks for the battle submission. Herdier is a pure normal type Pokemon with the moveset of Lick, Thunderbolt, and Play Rough. So unfortunately, it is stuck with only nuke charge moves, and it finds itself ranked number 773 on PvPoke. Despite that fact, this trainer is able to win with it. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out XL Herdier in action in the Great League. Hopping to the first match, picking up a positive lead, Noctowl into Cresselia. Noctowl is able to hit for massive super effective damage with Shadow Ball in this matchup, so this matchup is a close win for Noctowl. Noctowl goes for the Shadow Ball, and that deals massive damage onto Cresselia. Cresselia is going to return fire with the neutral Moonblast, but Moonblast just does not have the same damage output as a super effective Shadow Ball. Noctowl continuing to farm, going for Shadow Ball number 2 onto Cresselia. Cresselia is going to commit the shield, and it ends up being a CMP tie. Noctowl is going to let this move through. Moonblast is going to get the Noctowl low. Noctowl continuing to farm, makes it to the Sky Attack, but the opponent ends up making a catch, catching the Sky Attack onto their Mandibuzz. Bad news for the Mandibuzz, however, is that Mandibuzz is about to get absolutely crushed by Lantern. Lantern in an incredibly dominant spot here. Mandibuzz goes for the foul play. That's not going to be doing a whole lot of damage. Lantern is now going to be able to fire off this Thunderbolt. Going for an undercharge on the Thunderbolt, wanting to leave this matchup with a ton of energy, and Lantern is going to be able to do just that. They're going to fire off a foul play. Lantern able to tank it and spark all the way down. We'll have to see, is the opponent going to send back in that Cresselia? Yes, they are, and Lantern is going to start unleashing its energy. Lantern goes for the Surf. Surf is able to KO. In the back, they have Trevenant, and Trevenant is about to know the meaning of pain, and its name is Herdier. Herdier double resists the Shadow Claws while hitting for super effective damage with Lick, and to add insult to injury, makes a catch, catching the Seed Bomb onto Noctowl. Herdier going for the 2 shield flex. Trevenant able to reach one final charge move. Herdier shrugs off the Seed Bomb, gets the farm down, and that is a good game. Moving into the next match, picking up a pretty decent lead, Noctowl into Galarian Stunfisk. If you do run a Noctowl with a slight attack weight like this one, there is a wing attack breakpoint that does allow Noctowl to win this matchup in the 1 shield and the 2 shield. Stunfisk is going to fire off the Rock Slide. That connects and does quite a bit of damage, and Noctowl is going to return fire with the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball connects and already has the Stunfisk below half health. Noctowl going for Shadow Ball number 2. This Shadow Ball is going to get a shield, and we're going to see a save switch into Herdier, and the opponent responds with a Shadow Swampert. Swampert farming up a ton of energy. Herdier gonna let this through. Swampert goes for the Hydro. Big damage. Herdier able to hang on and return fire with a Play Rough. Play Rough lands onto the Swampert, and Herdier gets the farm down. In the back, opponent has Chestnut, and Chestnut is not going to appreciate this Noctowl. Going to send in Noctowl, but this is actually a smackdown Chestnut, and that is not good, because Noctowl is honestly taking some pretty significant damage here. Opponent is going to go for the combo play into the Stunfisk. Stunfisk does have a lot of energy stored. Rock Slide gets the shield. Noctowl wins CMP, but unfortunately, this means the Noctowl is not going to be able to switch out, and Stunfisk is going to get the KO. So now it's going to be all up to Lantern to close out this game. Lantern should be able to overfarm a bit in this matchup, and that's exactly what Lantern's going to do. Lantern overfarming, going to fire off the Surf. Surf is going to KO. Back in comes Chestnut. Chestnut trying to farm up, but it's not going to be able to outpace the Lantern. Lantern, Thunderbolt, takes down the Chestnut and secures the win. Dream lead in the next match, Noctowl into Meganium. Meganium is absolutely helpless in this matchup. Opponent is going to bank some energy and send in their own Noctowl, farming up a ton of energy and making a beautiful catch, catching the opponent's Sky Attack onto the Lantern, where it is going to be resisted. Very, very nice catch. Lantern is looking to overfarm quite a bit in this matchup, because while a Thunderbolt can threaten a KO, a Shadow Ball definitely will not. Able to tank the Shadow Ball from the Noctowl, going for the Thunderbolt and going for the undercharge. Thunderbolt not quite able to KO and deciding to take additional damage on the Lantern, basically trying to minimize the amount of farm Meganium gets, taking an additional Sky Attack and leaving the Lantern where whatever comes in is only going to get one fast move of farm. Opponent will send in their final Pokemon, which is Probopass, and this is problematic as Probopass has a lot of play against both Herdier and Noctowl. Herdier farming up and going for the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt would do some chip damage here. Probopass is going to commit the shield. Probopass continuing to farm up, continuing to farm, sending in Meganium, going for the snipe, but the Frenzy Plant is going to be caught onto Noctowl. Noctowl farming up to the back-to-back Sky Attacks and now gets to unleash this damage. Sky Attack gets the Meganium low. Noctowl looking for the farm down and gets it. In comes Probopass. Probopass is going to be met with a Shadow Ball from Noctowl. Shadow Ball able to land. Probopass is going to fire some energy, and from here you can just save your shields and farm down with Herdier. In comes Herdier. Herdier is going to have to shield a move from Probopass, but this is not going to save the Probo. Herdier gets the farm down and secures the win. Picking up a decent lead in the next match, Noctowl into Deoxys. This is a matchup where Noctowl can do surprisingly well, despite the fact that Deoxys has Thunderbolt. Noctowl is going to go for the Shadow Ball on the CMP tied to the Thunderbolt. Shadow Ball will do quite a bit of damage if it lands, which it does, getting Deoxys close to the red. Deoxys is going to return fire with the Thunderbolt. That's going to get the Noctowl low as well. Noctowl continues to farm and wins CMP with the Sky Attack as Deoxys makes it to the Psycho Boost. Goes for an undercharge, it's still gonna KO, and in comes a Lick Obstagoon. I am not sure what this is doing here. You definitely want to run counter. Opponent going for the Lick farm down, and they get it. That is not good. Gonna send in Herdier. Now it's the battle of Lick users. Obstagoon is gonna be firing off the Cross Chop. That's going to connect. And Obstagoon able to reach Cross Chop number 2. They got a lot of farm from the Noctowl. We see the shield from Herdier in the back. Opponent has Vigoroth. They are running what would typically be a triple counter team, but instead of counter on the Obstagoon, they are running Lick. Vigoroth, with a shield advantage, does look to be quite deadly in this endgame. Vigoroth goes for the Bulldoze. Lantern does commit the shield, but unfortunately, Lantern is now out of shields, whereas Vigoroth still has one, so Vigoroth will be able to connect with a Bulldoze in this matchup. Surf is going to get the final shield. Lantern firing off the back-to-back moves. This Surf will do some solid chip damage, getting the Vigoroth close to the red, but Vigoroth does have the Bulldoze. No shields remaining from the Lantern. Bulldoze is going to KO. In comes Herdier. Herdier farming up, and unfortunately going to be able to reach a move versus the Obstagoon, but not going to be able to reach a move versus the Vigoroth. Vigoroth is going to be able to reach the Body Slam before Herdier gets there. Body Slam is going to KO, and that's a good game. We've got some spice from the opponent in the next match, Noctowl into Shiftry. Shiftry definitely a cool pick, but in a pretty terrible matchup going up against Noctowl. Shiftry going to stay in and go for the foul play. This will hit for some heavy neutral damage, but Noctowl is very tanky, able to shrug it off. Opponent is going to send in Wigglytuff, and Wigglytuff will be met with a lot of energy from the Noctowl. Sky Attack gets the shield. Noctowl already at Sky Attack number 2, applying a ton of pressure. This Sky Attack is going to be no shielded, and now in comes Lantern. Lantern is very bulky, able to absorb the charm damage and reach the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt will KO from this range, going for the undercharge there, looking to get some extra farm, but instead getting the opponent's final shield. Opponent is going to fire off the Play Rough. That gets the Lantern low. Lantern not able to make it to a Surf. In comes Noctowl. Noctowl looking for the Sky Attack, able to get there, and now putting full faith into 2-shield Herdier to try and win this game. In comes Shiftry. Shiftry gets the farm down. In comes Herdier. These Licks are resisted going up against Shiftry and letting the first move through. Shiftry goes for the Leaf Blade. That does so much damage in the back. The opponent has Coffagrigus, and this might actually be possible. Coffagrigus is going to be met with the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt gets the Coffin low, going for a slight undercharge, wanting to try and maximize the amount of farm to reach a Play Rough versus the Shiftry. Herdier gets the farm down. In comes the Shiftry. It's going to be a race. Shiftry has one move. Are they at a second one? Leaf Blade gets the shield. Herdier gets to the Play Rough, and that will be game over. Play Rough will be vanquishing the Shiftry and securing the victory. Positive lead in the next match, Noctowl into Medicham. With a Herdier in the back, this is definitely where you want to see the counter user on the team. Noctowl is looking to overfarm, and that allows Medicham to go for the Ice Punch first. Ice Punch is able to connect, getting the Owl below half health. Opponent is going to save switch into their own Lantern, and this is where things get a bit tricky. Firing off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball gets some nice chip damage, and we see a catch onto his own Lantern. Opponent going for a Surf onto the Noctowl, and that's going to cost them. And now it's the Battle of Lanterns, going to strike first with the Thunderbolt. This will hit for some nice neutral damage. Going for, again, the slight undercharge there. Looking for some farm as he leaves the matchup. Opponent will fire off the Thunderbolt. That's going to get him low. He is going to be able to get the farm down and leave with some energy to threaten the Medicham if that's what they decide to bring in. In comes the Medicham. Medicham will be met with the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt is non-lethal here, but gets a shield from the opponent. That's quite nice. Actually gives up switch, sends in the Noctowl here. Noctowl will be able to pressure the Medicham, but things are looking a little rough here because that Medicham is going to tear through Herdier. Ice Punch is going to get the shield in the back. Opponent has their own Noctowl, and things are suddenly looking quite dire. Firing off this Sky Attack. Sky Attack is going to connect, but this Noctowl has a lot of energy. May need to try and pull off a catch, but that Lantern has absolutely no HP remaining. In comes the Herdier. These licks doing absolutely nothing to the Noctowl. Noctowl is going to fire off the Sky Attack. Sky Attack does quite a bit of damage. We do see the catch being made. Absolutely beautiful catch. Catching the Sky Attack onto the Lantern. This might actually be doable. Herdier continuing to farm, but unfortunately, I think this is where Herdier only having nuke charge moves is going to come back to hurt it. In comes the Medicham. Medicham will be met with the Play Rough. Play Rough is going to be getting rid of the Medicham. In comes the Noctowl. It's going to be a race. Herdier falls just short of the Thunderbolt. Noctowl just too spammy, able to KO Herdier and get the win. Great lead in the next match, Noctowl into Alolan Marowak, and honestly, this entire team destroys AWAC. Opponent is going to save switch into Altaria, and I honestly like the decision to stay in here with Noctowl. You don't have to switch out because it doesn't matter where the Marowak is aligned. The Marowak is going to have a terrible matchup no matter where it is. Noctowl going to fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball will do quite a bit of damage to the Altaria. Noctowl continuing to farm up here. Noctowl is going to have to shield to protect this energy. The question is, can Noctowl double up on Sky Attacks? This is going to be close. Not quite doubled up. Oh man, I think the Dragon Breath's my KO here. Sky Attack gets the shield. Noctowl dies with the move and unfortunately is not able to force that second shield from Altaria. Altaria farming up quite a bit of energy here. They are at a potential Moonblast. They're actually running Dragon Pulse instead. Dragon Pulse lands. Lantern gets the farm down. We'll have to see, does the opponent send in the third here? They do not. They send in their Alolan Marowak, so they must be absolutely core broken by Lantern. Lantern will be able to farm up quite a bit of energy here and fire off the Surf. Surf will KO if the opponent lets it through. They shield, and we see an aggressive switch into Herdier. Marowak went for the Bone Club. That's not going to do a lot of damage. In the back, the opponent has a Azumarill, and they are so weak to Lantern. But this Azu is also not going to appreciate the Thunderbolt from Herdier. Herdier, Thunderbolt, big damage onto the Azu. Azu is going to be returning fire here. Azu goes for the Play Rough. That gets Herdier low. Azu looking to farm down the Herdier, but thanks to this lick damage, this is now perfect farm down range for the Lantern. Lantern can commit the shield, spark down the Azu, and comfortably win this game. Gets the spark down, in comes the Marowak. They don't even bring it in. They concede the match. Tough lead in the final match, Noctowl into Shadow Zapdos. Zapdos definitely not what you're hoping to see. We see a save switch into Herdier, and Herdier is met with Shadow Machamp. Shadow Machamp looking to shield once and farm all the way down. Thunderbolt is going to get the shield. Machamp leaves with so much energy, and Shadow Machamp with energy is incredibly scary for Noctowl. Going to wait the clock, send in Noctowl, and man, this is quite tough. Noctowl may have to call a bait here, lets it through, and calls a cross chop. chop. That is actually massive. Noctowl continues to farm. Noctowl is going to be committing the shield here. Machamp goes for the cross chop. Machamp reaches one final cross chop, and I think you just have to let this go. Noctowl, cross chop, barely not able to KO. Opponent will send in Zapdos. Zapdos will be met with the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball gets the shield, and now it's all up to Lantern to try and win this game. Lantern farming up, trying to make it to the Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt would hit for some heavy neutral damage. Zapdos baits with a Drill Peck. Zapdos going for the charge move here. I believe this is only another Drill Peck. They may have been worried about a Thunderbolt, trying to get off as much damage as they can. Lantern going to be going for the Surf. I'm not sure if this Surf is going to KO though. Surf actually is able to KO, and it's a Shadow Scizor in the back. Oh my goodness, Shadow Zapdos is so glassy. Surf gets the Scizor low. Surf number 2 is going to get the KO. Lantern putting the team on his back, and that is a good game. All in all, seeing someone get wins with the 773rd ranked Great League Pokemon on PvPoke was very, very fun to watch. Herdier definitely could benefit from some help in the moveset department, only having Thunderbolt and Play Rough as the nukes. Definitely in a bit of a tough spot, but maybe with some moveset love, we could potentially see Herdier rise the ranks in the future. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.